Hey everyone, X-Playman here. I'm finally making my first video of 2022 since I was sick with COVID right at the beginning of the year. I love that my first video of 2022 can be a positive thing about Zero Hour. Zero Hour has announced a new major update. Major updates come with a new operation title, and this one will be called Operation Red Wedding. It's bringing new guns, a new map, and more quality of life improvements. This operation will have the 5 new weapons mentioned in the quality of life announcement 3 months ago, and we have a new map called Red Wedding. A GIF shows an excellently rendered scene of the ballroom, but the screenshots I've seen of this map look amazing. It's hard to predict how a map will look based on a few screenshots, because screenshots are designed to show the best parts. Still, based on the screenshots that I saw, the new map looks like it might be one of the most detailed and visually stimulating maps we've seen in Zero Hour. Lights and fabric are hanging around a lovely, high-class looking venue. I can't wait to get my hands on the map because Paradise City was the last map where the pre-release screenshots look like a positive uptick in quality for the game. These pre-release screenshots for Red Wedding are giving me better vibes than Paradise City, and it's coming out of a map that I hope is PvP. Animations are getting improved again, this time to address some stuttering. All of the current animations are improving to make them less jittery. Some of you may know that I have been the biggest advocate for focusing on the game's quality of life, and I have been very vocal, as have many of you, about how disappointing the last quality of life update was. The quality of life announcement specifically said this update will be coming out in multiple patches, and that was not really the case. There's a lot to unpack from the shortest part of the operation announcement. The following 3 things will be the most essential pieces of this update. First, they're updating the network structure. This is something that I know M7 Productions has been working on since summer 2021. Before the Megna update, M7 Productions spoke about how Photon Networks have been in dialogue with the devs about improving network performance. This has easily been one of Zero Hour's most significant weaknesses so far. So, the announcement says, "We are working together with Photon Networks to give you the best experience with online gameplay. We expect better service and connectivity compared to the prior network structure. This would further improve our security for anti-cheat detection. This may lead to removal of unused or unpopular regions to compensate for the more active regions." Yes, yes, and yes. In speaking with M7 Productions since last summer, I know that there was a long-term plan for improving the network. At the time, that discussion even included dedicated servers, but they ultimately stuck with Photon. While Photon Networks might be easier for the developers to implement multiplayer, it hasn't been the best experience for players, as it fails to meet the demands of an FPS game. However, M7 Productions has been making Photon Networks work for Zero Hour. Believe me, both of them want this to work. I don't think the players care who is hosting it, as long as the hit reg can meet the same standards as other first-person shooter titles. In the last quality of life improvement, we got the first part of a significant improvement to hit reg. Some of it is from back-end improvements, and some from hitbox optimizations within the game client itself, but the quality of life improvement did show that improvements are possible on the existing infrastructure. More Photon improvements can only help the game further. Secondly, as part of their network improvements, they are also working on improving security for anti-cheat detection. The last line of this announcement section could not be more of a godsend. When I reviewed this game back in March during Operation Massacre, I had only played the game for about a week or 2. I immediately picked up on the game having too many regions at such an early community stage. At that point, the game had more server regions than players that could fill a lobby in each mode for each server region. Especially for PvP, where one game could take 30 minutes, that is insane. Just because you can have a dozen server regions doesn't mean you should. So when they say that they may remove unused or unpopular server regions to make it easier for players to find games, 1000% yes. The game feels more dead to new players than it really is because people choose their closest region when they first launch Zero Hour, and then they can't find matches in their area. Consolidating the server regions should lead to people finding games more quickly, which is all players want. Players want to play the game. Easy concept, right? GeForce Now is another part that's being addressed by this upcoming update. In the last quality of life update, the anti-cheat required Zero Hour to be restarted to install the anti-cheat. However, GeForce Now did not give the user permission to install the anti-cheat. It was an immediately known issue after the update launched. I know this won't affect most people. Still, I've had people directly DM me about this. Many people mentioned it in Discord, and we've had some people talk about it in the chat on the Twitch streams. So don't underestimate how many people have played Zero Hour via GeForce Now. Your messages got me to try GeForce Now, though, and it's actually a compelling offer, but that's for another conversation. The point is that I have a better understanding of the issue now, and that had to be fixed. I tried to see if there was a way I could try the private testing branch on GeForce Now, but given the current anti-cheat issue, Zero Hour is currently disabled from GeForce Now. So I think the only way we can test this is after the launch of Operation Red Wedding. After Operation Red Wedding, the future looks like it will have squad AI commands. These commands seem pretty basic right now for the sake of showing it, but we'll see if they are released as this simple or as something more complex like you would see in SWAT 4 and in Ready or Not. I find it most interesting that M7 Productions calls this a dynamic system. In SWAT 4, which ran on Unreal Engine 2, the developers and modders who made custom maps had to mark locations for the AI to stand on every single door and room and direction. As you can imagine, this could get tedious and still lead to many overlooked errors. This system that M7 Productions is talking about seems to allow the AI to determine on its own the best place to stand. It's an exciting idea and one that I believe, but I'm honestly not sure, that Ready or Not is also doing. The GIFs showed the AI figuring out where to stand. It looked similar to what we see the AI in Ready or Not do right now. Games like SWAT 4 and Ready or Not are fun to play with friends, but ultimately I find it best to run with bots for anyone who wants to go full tactical. This addition would level up the Zero Hour PvE experience tremendously. The last thing the devlog mentioned was M7 Productions getting a mocap studio. I know this has been a goal they've been trying to achieve for a long time now. Now that they've officially announced it, it means we're getting closer to them having that done. The animations in Zero Hour have been pretty generic. I've never felt them to be bad, except for the pistol ADS animation not looping correctly. Still, the addition of motion capture opens a whole new world of possibilities to make the experience better. Something that felt like a luxury before, like idle animations and breathing, can be accomplished more easily now with a motion capture studio. I'm excited to see what comes of it. Unlike Operation Black Dawn and Operation Megna, it seems like we do not see gameplay changes to Operation Red Wedding. However, that is always subject to change. But I think this is a great thing. Instead, we're seeing some work being done to improve networking. It seems like we haven't seen this ever addressed outside of the quality of life update, but this is the right move. Continue to work on quality of life and bug fixes without changing existing systems, for now. If you can release new content in the form of guns and a new map along the way, even better. Something a bit unorthodox for an Operation announcement is that we already have a release date in the announcement blog post. Operation Red Wedding is expected to come out on March 7th. Lastly, on January 6th, M7 Productions released an apologetic statement about the lack of communication and updates. That was also when I saw my first COVID symptom before testing positive later, so since then, all of these other games I had in my library were getting updates like Ground Branch, Ready or Not, Elite Dangerous, Microsoft Flight Simulator. Heck, even Battlefield 2042 got an update. I was waiting until the 30th day since that announcement to see what M7 Productions comes up with before judging them for making an excuse rather than apology. Last week, we got to see information about the next update in private testing. Other issues may take longer to fix because they depend on third parties, but they are at least being worked on, which is all anybody could ask for. This is just another one of those weird zero-hour things where I wish they had a roadmap or known issues list to better communicate with the community. Suppose we had a known issues list. A known issues list, especially for those issues that require fixes by third party, would at least give the community confidence it currently doesn't have. The open forum of the Discord support channel has a lot of what seems like noise. It would be an easy thing to point out to existing members for the zero-hour community to see that their technical issues are being heard. Are there still going to be complaints? Well, of course there are. But people committing to an early access game want to see an acknowledgement that problems are being worked on. The game still suffers from many bugs, not hit reg related. You are guaranteed to encounter at least one of the bugs in a 2 to 4 hour gaming session on any given day. Every gamer who has bought an early access title has seen their fair share of games become abandoned by the devs making them. However, indie developers are killing it right now. Every AAA shooter released in the past couple of years, except for Halo Infinite, has been a failure. Once upon a time, AAA used to mean quality, and they've gotten more greedy, and there's absolutely no value for the money with most AAA titles anymore. Today, you can count on AAA being a shameless money grab for an awful product. I like being in the company of indie developers who actually have a passion for what they're doing. And if you're watching this video, then I think you're in a good place by supporting indie games too. Without a publisher, indie devs can sometimes lose the direction of their communities, but they want to make it right. This is very different from AAA devs who double down on useless NFTs. They double down on specialists that have no distinction between what tools they have access to in the game that is supposed to be about team play. And they double down on microtransactions while leaving the game in a broken state. At least when these indie devs get it wrong, they genuinely want to make it right. The last 0 Hour content update we got was in August. The most essential thing in the quality of life update didn't work, but hit reg was definitely improved. As someone so passionate about 0 Hour, today's announcement took me from being down to being positive. It felt like 0 Hour was about to be ripped in half by Ground Branch on one side and Ready or Not on the other side. This update is not going to solve all the problems. Still, there is definitely a sense of 0 Hour getting back on track with this scheduled operation update. And if M7 Productions stays on this track, I think there is a world where all of these games I previously mentioned can coexist. Ground Branch is the Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon game fans wanted if it were to be a first-person game, and Ubisoft never delivered on. 0 Hour is the Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six game that fans wanted, and Ubisoft never delivered on. Ready or Not is the SWAT 4 sequel that Activision would never make after they bought the publisher and Take-Two bought the developer. For sure, 2022 is looking good for fans of tactical shooters. It's weird to me that we call it a tactical shooter now, because when all of these classic Tom Clancy and SWAT games came out, we just called them first-person shooters. Anyway, I'm not going to start a new topic of conversation. We can save that for the Twitch stream, which, speaking of, you can find me on Twitch. We're nearing 1,000 followers in less than a year, and that just blows my freaking mind. Thank you everyone for all your support. We've been live every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern, and on Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm XPlayMan. Thank you for watching. Catch you next time.